Okay, for my team, I was going to do a live the day of the Air and Water show, but there was just too much going on that day. I want to talk about developing a software app-based platform for the homeless where all of the beds are Rolodexed in a way that's similar to Airbnb. I think that offering reservation-style beds will give people a much better chance at success than what we're currently doing. So the first step, obviously, and I've discussed this a lot in a lot of my lives and other broadcasts, the first step of this is obviously intake, and that should occur at any area emergency room. As soon as a person finds themselves in a position of homelessness for whatever reason, they lost their job, they have experienced domestic violence, they have an addiction problem, whatever it is, they go to the ER and they have an assessment. The assessments should be cataloged and available for use in the Rolodexing system that's going to operate similar to Airbnb. So based on the results of that, and no one assessment is like universal or lifelong. An assessment should be updated as to avoid trapping a person into an identity that is no longer their identity. For instance, if a person was, allegedly a drug user in 2022, but they haven't touched anything, since that time, they need to be able to update that Rolodex in a way that is, reliable, honest, and kind of, current. And then after they have that intake, the people are divided by their need. So if someone needs intervention for substance abuse or housing that is acceptable for someone who's using drugs, then that's taken into consideration. If someone needs assisted living, if they're elderly, if they're disabled, that is also taken into consideration, and they are directed towards that part of the Rolodex or CRM. Again, I compare it to Airbnb because I feel like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We separate these beds based on what they can offer. All of these categories have to be logged. It's so simple. Like, I can't believe that this hasn't been done yet. And I've said this a lot. It almost feels like they're doing it on purpose. Like they have the answers that they need to resolve these issues, but they don't want to, for whatever reason, allow them to be resolved. Now, if there's a person like myself, for instance, who does not require any sort of intervention of any sorts, I'm completely independent. I have education. I have 4 children who I've raised their entire lives. Clearly, I can take care of myself. For someone like that, it's literally like an Airbnb system that offers beds, bedrooms, and access to living situations. From there, opportunity will come, and once a person has the stability of making a reservation, say they're week-long reservations, and then the host has the option after a discussion to say, we can extend for this amount of time and see what happens or whatever. These people need stability, but they also need the freedom to find a job wherever they can, take care of their life responsibilities that they already have. And homelessness creates so many more problems. Like, it's just ridiculous. The level of disrespect at some of these facilities that claim to be homeless shelters, it's no wonder these people never do better. They're being treated like dirt a lot of times. They're being, dismissed and treated like like they don't matter. And that's just not the case. You know, everyone, you want to talk about entitlement? I mean, let's talk about it. Everyone has a sense of entitlement, and until you have like literally all of your rights taken from you, you don't even discuss entitlement as a bad thing. I mean, as a good thing. Entitlement is a good thing. Entitlement reminds us that we're not trash and that we are deserving. You know, that's what we have the United States Constitution for, and that's what we have all of these laws and regulations and things of that nature, because we want to be protected, and we all want, that's entitlement as some refer to it, a basic acceptable style and quality of life. You know, no one deserves to be sleeping on the street. If someone is like even the grodiest, shittiest person, they don't even deserve to be sleeping on the street. And that's not even just for their own comfort, but also for the comfort of everyone around them. I don't know, what is this, Xavier? Moody?
Moody Church, you're saying?
Some sort of concert at Moody Bible.
Sort of third eye blind knockoff. Yeah.
Anyways.
Retreat.
It seems so simple, and it's incredibly frustrating to me. Xavier and I have been in this situation for about, how long has it been that we've been there? 5 weeks or 4 weeks? Prior to that, we were 4.5 months at a place that said that was our last stop. That we would be there for 6 months while our needs were assessed, and then we would be matched with an apartment or townhome so that our child could come home. I have 4 children. I've always had my own home. I've been in my own apartment since I was 17 years old, or house. Like, this is 37 years old, not what I want to be doing. My older daughter went into high school the year I became homeless. And when I say homeless, it's been like up and down. I should say housing instability, because I had Airbnbs, I had hotels, I was making good money. I was receiving checks for a reality show that I was doing, and I was also driving DoorDash. So I was, paying like $40,000 annual in housing cost to not even have any money left over to save or whatever. Like, that was like the cheapest Airbnbs that money could buy that I was getting. I was not staying in like luxury. I wasn't renting the entire property. Let's put it that way. I was renting a room, a bed. So life just should not be that way. 2020, when my daughter went into her freshman year, after living with me her entire life, with her brother and sister, and now I have a 6-month-old, she watched her mother become homeless. And she knows that I'm dynamic. My children know me. My mom, my family, my friends, they know me. They know that I can do all things, that I have intelligence and education and willingness, and that I'm, physically fit and in shape, and literally that there's nothing that I can't do, just like so many of the rest of us. So how do I explain to my children that I'm homeless, and how do I make that make sense now that we're 4 years into this situation and there still has been no resolution? So Xavier and I were in a shelter called Tremont Shelter on 100 East Chestnut. And that is an old boutique hotel that they turned into a homeless shelter. And it's supposed to be 6 months in that space. They call it a permanent shelter. And then from the permanent shelter, 6-month shelter, you go to your home. You are matched with housing, an apartment or a townhome, depending on your family size and need. So we made it 4.5 months, and all of a sudden they said that the program ran out of funding. And they made us just leave with no plan, nowhere to go. We spent another 2 weeks on the literal sidewalk in front of Rag and Bone, New York. And Xavier got punched in the head 3 times. They stole 2 bicycles from him. They stole his cell phone. The first time Xavier and I were homeless, when we were staying in the tent by Belmont Harbor, a man beat me up while I was pregnant. kicked me in the head, dragged me about 10 feet down the street, unprovoked. I was sleeping. It was 3 o'clock in the morning and we had a padlock on the tent. These situations should not be possible in 2023, 2024, and that's when I went through it.
Hello?
We have a way to Rolodex properties for rent. And if you look up Airbnb statistics, there's something around 70% of their total properties that will be empty or vacant on any given day. How do you explain that? How do we walk over bodies in the literal street on the sidewalk like it's nothing? We're so used to it. We're so accustomed to it. But we have 70% vacancy in Airbnb, and that's not including regular rentals. When 2020 came and a lot of people, the housing market in the downtown area, it took a plummet. It took a hit. And a lot of people, based on the COVID and pandemic and the fear-mongering associated with that, a lot of people, fled to the suburbs and started purchasing homes. If they were going to be locked down, they wanted to be locked down in situations where they had space to breathe for their family to go outside and play, etc., and so forth. So the value, the value here in the downtown area, where you're literally, apartment on apartment on apartment right next to your neighbor, it kind of took a little bit of a hit. Not only that, but they were doing BLM riots, and there was a whole bunch of unsafe kind of disrupting going on in this area. I witnessed with my own eyes cop cars overturned and on fire. I witnessed with my own eyes stores being completely boarded up after, they were rushed by groups of people for quality items, high ticket items, purses, bags, duffels, etc. And then they resold all of those products, on the black market. So to me, it's like a no-brainer here. We really don't need to reinvent the wheel. We already have software that is developed to Rolodex and CRM our properties, their owners, their values. Why are we not matching them to people? It's so simple. I don't understand why this needs to exist. And because it's so simple, and I'm definitely not a genius by any means, but because this is so simple and based on what's gone on with my situation over the last 4 years and how it's related to what I've, been forced to see taking place with homelessness and other oppression, it makes me feel like there's some sort of hidden reason that people are still homeless. Someone is winning by leaving people in this state of homelessness. Someone needs these people to remain homeless. Why would that be? I don't understand that. If no one is benefiting from the homeless population, then why wouldn't we solve this? If not for the quality of life of the people who are experiencing it, for the quality of life for the rest of us, I don't want to walk over like some dirty man who's urinated on himself 2 times in the morning. You know what I mean? And I've had to do that multiple times. In the downtown Chicago area, 60611, which is one of the most prestigious, upscale neighborhoods that we have here in Chicago. Gold Coast. You know what I mean? So it's very curious to me. I feel like we absolutely need to invest more time and money into developing these softwares. Hotels should definitely be on the hook for a certain percentage of their rooms. And it's like I said the last time, energy is contagious. If you think of a cup of crystal clear water as good vibes, and let's just use the color purple. Okay, you have purple food coloring, and make the purple food coloring the bad vibes. All it takes is 1 drop of that, and all your good vibed water has changed to purple. And it might be a light shade of purple, so maybe the vibes, are not that bad at that time. But the more drops you put into that water, the darker it becomes, the worse the vibe, the worse the energy. We have to dilute that. We have to take the people who are suffering and put them into situations of uplifting, put them into situations of support, put them into safe living conditions, and help them. You know, it helps us. If you can't think of it from a selfless perspective, you can go ahead and look at it from a selfish perspective. If you own property, do you want some nasty, dirty homeless person going to sleep outside of it, and then you come bring someone for a showing the next day? How likely do you think that they are to make the purchase? You know, just from whatever perspective you need to look at it, bend it that way, you know? Find a perspective that will make it worthwhile to invest your time and resources into resolving these issues, because they're affecting people like myself, and there's a ripple effect. I have 4 children. I have worked tirelessly my entire life. Since I was 14 years old, I've had a job. I've been an entrepreneur. I have 10 years experience in healthcare. There's no reason at all in heaven or hell why my 4 children should be suffering as a result of this. None. There's no reason. So if I could entice you, you know, to get your best people on the job, not even your best, get your worst people on the job. Like it's truly not that difficult. Airbnb has already created the model for us. Get a listing of beds that are acceptable for the homeless. Rolodex them in a way you would Airbnb. If someone is ill or sick or addicted, do not include them in having access to those beds. Make a different program for them. I'm so upset to hear one of my roommates in this dorm style where I'm living now. She said to me she was addicted, and I'm not going to share her name. She's a nice lady. She's very kind to me. I don't, need to know the details of her situation. This is what I do know. She shared with me during her pregnancy with her son, she was using heroin. And that when her son was born, her and her son were accepted for treatment at a place called Haymarket. So her newborn son was never separated from her. Her and her child were taken into this facility and they were helped. I was never on drugs, ever. I was never addicted. And I was calling for help every week of my pregnancy. I wasn't out hiding. I was adamantly calling and referring my issues to law enforcement, to the city's 311 department, asking them for assistance. I was accused of negligence at birth when my son was born for being homeless. That is unacceptable. That is a violation of human rights. How is it possible that we can support someone with a serious drug addiction and their child, but someone like myself who does not have an addiction, there are no options for? I've been separated from my child. That is unacceptable. From my children. Like I said before, the way that these people handle me and treat me, there are ripple effects and there are people watching. And that's not a warning or a threat. I've tried to say it a million times. They take over my phone, and not just my phone. It has nothing to do with my phone. They take over my storyline. Anytime you see them bringing in huge waves, expect problems. They don't want resolution just for me. They want resolution in general. And the more that it's ignored, the worse it's going to be. There are a whole bunch of people who are being subjected to being food, systemic food. What do I mean by that? Meaning they're creating, planting, or curating symptoms in otherwise well individuals, intelligent, well-spoken, kind, so that they can be of use to some sort of service that we have, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whatever it is. That way they can continue to generate revenue. It is a business, and it is disgusting. And I've apart from the homeless issue, I've discussed a number of times in a million different ways. Why wouldn't we create the same opportunities for reimbursement with services that are enjoyable? Spa services, preventative services. How about dentists start billing insurance for teeth cleaning and whitening in prevention? Did you guys know that the state plans do not cover cleanings at the dentist? They do not cover cleanings. They only cover interventional medicine, meaning if you have, a cavity, they'll fill it, but they will not clean your teeth. This is backward. This is obscene. Why are we not covering things like whitening and regular cleanings? Why are we not covering things like manicures and pedicures in people who, cannot manicure and pedicure their own feet and hands? Why are we not covering things like massage for people who are dealing with tremendous amounts of stress? The number one cause of heart disease, as they say, is stress, right? So does it not seem incredibly simple that if we eliminate or decrease stress substantially, that heart disease will also go down? What's cheaper, health insurance companies? A massage or an angioplasty? Let's use our heads here. This is not difficult to understand. The future is so in our hands. Literally, look down. What do you have in your hand? Your phone? Your laptop? Your tablet? This is the future of communication, the future of innovative ideas, the future of practical solutions. So I'm just asking you guys, please. I'm Heather Gillespie, and my children and my family and I are asking, please invest a little bit of time and energy into these solutions, because you're hurting us by ignoring, these problems. We're hurting in a very real way. You guys have a great day.